What would you do if your spouse criticized every loving gesture you made? Because when I finally listened and stopped, she blamed me for that too. Hey, this is Alex. I thought I was being a good husband. 2 years in, and I still got that newlywed energy, you know? Like when I'd wake up before Gina and make her coffee, 1 sugar, no cream, exactly how she liked it. I leave little notes sometimes. Stupid stuff like, hope your presentation goes well today. Nothing crazy, just, I don't know. I wanted her to know I was thinking about her. But let me back up to when everything really started. 6 months ago, Gina broke her foot. Stupid accident at the gym, stepped wrong coming off a machine. I'm talking hairline fracture, cast for 8 weeks, the whole deal. And look, I'm not trying to make myself sound like some saint here, but I took care of her. I mean, really took care of her. I took 3 days off work when it first happened. Drove her to every doctor's appointment. Rearranged our whole downstairs so she could get around easier. Moved the coffee maker down to the counter she could reach. Set up a little station by the couch with everything she'd need during the day. I'd help her shower, and before you get weird about it, it wasn't some sexual thing. She was in pain, couldn't put weight on her foot, and needed help. So I helped. Made dinner every night for 2 months. Not just throwing together sandwiches, either, actual meals. I'd stop at the grocery store after work, figure out what she was craving, come home and cook. Brought her plates up to bed when her foot was really bothering her. Hell, I even painted her toenails once because she was getting depressed about how gross her feet looked. Bright red, because she said it made her feel more human. I just kept it going, but in different ways. The caring thing, even after her healing, it felt natural. I'd still bring her favorite Thai food when she had rough days at work. Still surprised her with flowers sometimes, not for any special occasion, just because I saw some she'd like at the store. I'd plan these little date nights. Nothing expensive, just things I thought she'd enjoy. A picnic in the park, tickets to that weird art exhibit she mentioned wanting to see. 3 months ago, I'd planned this whole thing for a random weekend. No special occasion, just felt like doing something nice. I found this food truck festival happening downtown. Remembered her saying she wanted to try more diverse cuisines. So I mapped out this whole route. We'd hit 5 different trucks, split everything, make it like a progressive dinner. I even brought a blanket and found this perfect spot in the park where we could sit between stops. And that's when she said it. Not yelling, not even particularly mean, just this flat, tired voice. Alex, don't you think this is all a bit much? It feels juvenile, you know? Juvenile. That word just hung there in the air between us. I stood there holding the picnic blanket, feeling like I'd been slapped. What the hell did that even mean? Juvenile, because I wanted to spend time with my wife? Because I remembered something she said and acted on it? Because I put thought into making her happy instead of just existing in the same house with her? The confusion hit me first, then the hurt. This woman I've been taking care of, planning things for, showing love to every single day for 2 years, and my efforts were juvenile? The same efforts that got us through her injury, that she seemed grateful for at the time, were suddenly too much? I kept thinking about that word. Juvenile. Like caring about your spouse is something you're supposed to grow out of. Like there's some manual for married men that says after 2 years you should stop trying to make your wife smile, stop planning surprises, stop being excited about spending time together. But you know what really got to me? It wasn't just the word. It was how she said it, like she'd been thinking it for a while. Like she'd been rolling her eyes at my gestures instead of appreciating them. How long had she been seeing my love as an inconvenience? How many times had I brought her flowers thinking I was brightening her day when really I was just annoying her? I didn't know what to say. What do you say to that? Sorry for caring too much? Sorry for wanting to make you happy? Sorry for thinking that's what marriage was supposed to look like? So I folded up the blanket, canceled the food truck plan, and I started thinking maybe I'd been reading this whole marriage wrong. Not that I was wrong for caring, but that she clearly didn't want that kind of love from me. She wanted something different, something more hands-off, more normal, I guess.
Hey there, I'm Gina. I'm not going to lie. Anthony was there for me through it all. Wait, that's not right. Alex was there for me. God, why did I just say Anthony? Anyway, Alex was incredible when I broke my foot, don't get me wrong. He'd work all day, then come home and take care of me, make dinner, help me to the bathroom when I could barely walk, the whole thing. I know that sounds amazing, and it was, but also it was suffocating. Like, I appreciated it at first. Really, I did. But after the first few weeks, I started feeling like I couldn't breathe. He was always hovering, always asking if I needed something, always rearranging things to make my life easier without asking if I wanted them rearranged. I'm a grown woman, you know. I can figure out how to reach the coffee maker, even with a cast on my foot. And then after I healed up, he just kept going. The constant attention didn't stop. Every day, there was some new gesture, some surprise, some plan he'd made. Don't get me wrong, I know I'm supposed to feel grateful. What woman complains about getting flowers and surprise dates, right? But it felt like performance. Like he was trying too hard to be the perfect husband instead of just being my husband. The texting thing especially drove me crazy. I started putting my phone on silent because I never knew when he'd send something, and I felt guilty not responding right away, but I also felt annoyed that I had to respond at all. Does that make me a terrible person? Maybe, but that's how I felt. It's like every birthday had to be this elaborate production. Our anniversary couldn't just be dinner. It had to be some thoughtful recreation of our first date or tickets to something I'd mentioned wanting to see months ago. I started dreading special occasions because I knew they'd come with all this pressure. This expectation that I'd be thrilled by whatever he'd planned. And honestly, sometimes his surprises weren't even things I wanted to do. That art exhibit he took me to, I'd mentioned it once in passing because someone at work was talking about it. I didn't actually want to go see weird, modern installations for 3 hours on a Saturday. But there he was, so proud of himself for remembering, so excited to surprise me, and I had to pretend to love it. So when he came at me with that food truck festival thing, I just had enough. I was tired from work. It was a Tuesday for God's sake. And here he is with this whole elaborate plan involving 5 different stops and a picnic blanket like we're college kids or something. It just felt so much. So I told him. Maybe not in the nicest way, but I told him. I called it juvenile because that's what it felt like. All this constant effort. All this trying to make everything special and romantic and perfect. Real married couples don't do food truck crawls on a weekend. They order pizza and watch Netflix. They have normal, comfortable relationships where you don't have to be on all the time, where every day doesn't have to be some celebration of your love. I thought he'd get it, you know. I thought he'd realize I was asking for things to calm down a bit, for us to settle into something more sustainable, more normal. I wasn't trying to hurt his feelings. I was trying to save us both from this exhausting cycle of constant romance. But instead of talking to me about it, instead of asking what I meant or what I wanted, he just stopped. Everything stopped. The flowers disappeared. The surprise dates ended. Even the little text messages during the day just stopped coming. Birthdays became dinner at whatever restaurant had availability. Our anniversary was flowers from the grocery store and a card. And you know what? At first, I was relieved. Finally, some space to breathe. Finally, a normal marriage where we could just exist together without all the pressure and performance. But after a few months, I started noticing how quiet everything had become. How distant Alex seemed. How we'd gone from him being overly involved in my life to barely involved at all. He wasn't mean about it or anything. He was still polite, still helpful around the house, still a good husband in all the practical ways. But something had shifted. The warmth was gone. The playfulness. The feeling like he was genuinely excited to see me when he came home from work. I started watching other couples when we'd go out, and I realized maybe I'd overcorrected. Maybe I'd asked for normal and gotten indifferent instead. Maybe there was something between suffocating attention and polite coexistence that we'd missed entirely. But how was I supposed to bring that up without admitting I was wrong?
When Gina finally brought up how distant I'd become, I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of the irony. She's sitting there looking concerned, asking why I seem different, why our relationship feels off, like she genuinely has no idea what changed. So I told her. I kept my voice level and explained that she'd said my efforts were juvenile, that I was trying too hard all the time, so I stopped trying as hard. Simple math, right? She tells me something bothers her. I adjust my behavior accordingly. Isn't that what you're supposed to do in marriage? But apparently not, because suddenly I'm the bad guy for listening to her. She got this look on her face like I'd just spoken in a foreign language. Started saying that's not what she meant, that she didn't mean stop everything, just tone it down a little. That I should have talked to her about it, instead of just shutting down. Should have talked to her about it? What exactly was I supposed to say? Hey, honey, when you called my expressions of love juvenile, did you mean I should cut back by 20% or 50%? Was there some magic formula I was supposed to figure out? Some perfect level of effort that would make her happy without being too much? And that's when it started. The blame shifting, the rewriting of history, the making everything my fault somehow. She told me I was being too sensitive, that she was just trying to give me feedback, that couples should be able to communicate honestly with each other. Honestly? Calling someone's love juvenile is honest communication now? That's not feedback, that's criticism. That's contempt disguised as helping. Then came the gaslighting. She said I was punishing her, using withdrawal as manipulation. That this was exactly what her ex used to do. Her ex? Now I'm being compared to her emotionally abusive ex-boyfriend because I stopped doing things she told me were too much. But here's the thing that really got me. She kept saying I should have known what she really meant. Should have read between the lines. Should have understood that when she said my efforts felt juvenile, she actually meant something completely different that she never bothered to explain. How was I supposed to know? Well, am I a mind reader? If you want something specific from your husband, use your words. Don't give him cryptic feedback and then get mad when he interprets it literally. Don't tell him he's trying too hard and then complain when he tries less hard. The more she talked, the more frustrated I got. Not angry, just tired. Tired of walking on eggshells. Tired of trying to decode what she really wanted versus what she actually said. Tired of being responsible for her feelings when she wouldn't take responsibility for her words. Because that's what this was really about, wasn't it? She wanted me to be responsible for everything. For reading her mind, for knowing what she meant instead of what she said, for somehow maintaining the perfect level of attention that would make her happy without annoying her. And when I couldn't do that impossible thing, it became my fault for not trying hard enough to understand her. You know what I understood? I understood that I was married to someone who couldn't communicate directly, who expected me to navigate around her unexpressed preferences, who blamed me when I failed to intuit what she really wanted. I understood that this was what the rest of our marriage would look like if I stayed. So I made a decision. Not in that moment, not in the heat of frustration, but over the next few weeks as I really thought about what she'd said and what it meant for us long term. We weren't compatible, not in any dramatic, explosive way, but in this fundamental, unfixable way where we wanted different things from their partner. I started researching annulment procedures. Talked to a lawyer. Did my homework. This wasn't some impulsive reaction to a fight. This was a logical assessment of our situation. She wanted a husband who could read her mind and adjust his behavior based on her unstated preferences. I wanted a wife who could communicate directly and appreciate genuine expressions of love. Those two things don't work together. The day I brought home the papers, I was calm. Resolved. I told her I wasn't willing to spend the rest of our marriage trying to guess what she wanted from me while she blamed me for guessing wrong. She stared at the papers like they were written in hieroglyphics. Said I was giving up, that I wasn't even willing to work on this. But that's where she was wrong. I wasn't giving up. I was facing reality. You can't work on a problem when the other person won't acknowledge their role in creating it. You can't fix communication issues with someone who insists the problem is your failure to understand their unclear communication. I made my choice. Now she'd have to make hers.
When Alex walked in with those papers, I thought it was some kind of joke. Like maybe he was trying to scare me or make some dramatic point about our fight. But the way he set them down on the kitchen table, so calm and matter-of-fact, like he was showing me the electric bill or something, that's when I knew he was serious. Annulment papers. Not even divorce papers, but annulment. Like our whole marriage was some mistake that needed to be erased. Like the last 2 years meant nothing to him. I couldn't breathe for a minute. Just stared at those official-looking documents with our names on them and tried to process what was happening. This wasn't how marriages ended, was it? People fight, they go to counseling, they work things out. They don't just file papers because their wife told them they were trying too hard. So I started talking. Fast. Telling him we could fix this, that I'd communicate better, that he was giving up too easily, that this was just a rough patch and all couples go through them. I promised I'd be more appreciative of his gestures, that I'd work on expressing what I wanted more clearly. I even offered to go to counseling, to work with someone who could help us understand each other better. But he just stood there with this calm, resolved look on his face. Said he wasn't angry with me, wasn't trying to hurt me, but he wasn't changing his mind either. That we wanted fundamentally different things from our partners, and continuing would just hurt both of us more. That's when I got desperate. Started crying, which I hate doing but couldn't help. Told him he was breaking his vows, that marriage meant working through problems, not running away when things got difficult. I brought up all the good times we'd had, reminded him of how happy we used to be, how good we were together when everything was working. When that didn't work, I got angry. Told him he was being selfish and immature, that real adults don't just quit when their feelings get hurt. That he was proving my point about being juvenile by having this massive overreaction to one small comment I'd made months ago. Then I tried a different approach. Got dressed up nice, cooked his favorite dinner, tried to remind him of what he'd be losing. Tried to be the wife he apparently wanted, grateful for his attention, enthusiastic about his plans, appreciative of his efforts. But it felt fake because it was fake, and he could tell. I even called his sister, thinking maybe family could talk sense into him. But she just listened, and then said she'd noticed things seemed off between us lately. Asked me what had happened, and when I tried to explain, she got this uncomfortable silence. Like maybe she thought Alex had a point. That's when I started calling my friends, expecting them to be outraged on my behalf. Expecting them to tell me Alex was crazy for filing papers over something so small. But the conversations didn't go the way I thought they would. Sally said she'd always thought Alex was sweet, that her husband never did half the thoughtful things Alex did for me. Lisa mentioned how she'd noticed Alex seemed different the last few times we all hung out together, less engaged, less happy. Even my mom, when I finally broke down and told her what was happening, asked me why I'd criticized him for being romantic. Why had I criticized him for being romantic? When I said it out loud to my mom, it sounded horrible. What kind of woman complains about getting too much attention from her husband? What kind of wife calls love juvenile? But it wasn't that simple, was it? It felt overwhelming at the time. It felt like pressure. It felt like performance instead of genuine affection. Didn't I have the right to ask for what I wanted in my own marriage? Except I hadn't asked for what I wanted. I just criticized what he was giving me without offering any alternative. I told him he was doing it wrong without telling him how to do it right. And then when he stopped doing it at all, I'd blamed him for not reading my mind. The reality started hitting me in pieces. Having to find a new apartment because we'd been sharing everything during the marriage. Telling my coworkers why I was taking time off for legal meetings. Changing my emergency contact information. Dividing up our stuff, our friends, our shared life. And through all of it, Alex stayed calm. Polite. Helpful, even. He didn't badmouth me to our friends or try to turn people against me. He just quietly went about the business of ending our marriage like it was a project he needed to complete. That might have been the worst part. If he'd been angry or vindictive, I could have made him the villain. But he wasn't. He was just done. Done trying to make me happy. Done walking on eggshells around my moods. Done being married to someone who couldn't appreciate what he offered. I keep thinking about that word I used. Juvenile. Like caring about your spouse is something you outgrow. Like romance is embarrassing after a certain point. Like there's some mature way to love someone that involves less effort and more indifference. Maybe Alex was right. Maybe we really weren't compatible. Maybe I wanted something from marriage that he couldn't give me, and he wanted something I couldn't appreciate. But sitting here in my new apartment, eating takeout alone, I can't help wondering if the problem wasn't incompatibility.